Hello guys, good evening. So am I audible for you? Am I audible for you? Good. Today we'll start with the strings. You have any idea basically what is a string? Basically, what is a string? What is a string? Strings in Java. String is one of the built-in class. String is one of the built-in class in Java. String class is available in java.lang package. String class is available in java.lang package. Members of java.lang package can be used straight away without importing. Members of java.lang package can be used straight away without importing. All the wrapper classes are available in java.lang package. All the wrapper classes are available in java.lang package. What are the wrapper classes? What is the wrapper class concept? To convert the primitive into object types. To convert the primitives into object types, we use the wrapper classes. For all the primitive data types, for all the primitive data types, we have the corresponding wrapper classes. We have the corresponding wrapper classes. String s1 is equal to hello. String s1 is equal to hello. We know that we need to supply the value within the double quote for the string. String s1 is equal to hello. Here, I'm not using new operator. I'm not using new operator, but one object is created. We can create string object without using new operator. We can create a string object without a new operator. S2 is equal to new string hello. This is also possible. This approach we can also use. This is the normal one. But in case of this, I'm not using the new operator. Even though I'm not using the new operator, one string object will be created without using new operator. Try to execute this. What are we getting? Hello and hello. While printing S1, we are getting the content of the string object. While printing S1, we are getting the content of the string object, not the memory location. While printing S1, we are getting the content of the string object. This string object, it is referred by the reference variable S1. The string object is referred by the reference variable S1. While printing S2 also, same case, while printing S2, we are getting the content of the string object that is referred by s2. While trying to print the reference variable, I'm getting the content of the object, content of the string object. How it is possible? Inside the string class, toString method of object class got overridden. Object class is the supermost class of all the classes in Java. Object class is the supermost class of all the classes in Java. ToString method is available in object class. That ToString method is overridden in the string class. Inside string class, ToString method of object class got overridden. That is why we get the content of the string while printing the reference of the string object. Inside the string class, ToString method of object class got overridden. That is why we get the content of the string object while printing the reference of the string object. In every wrapper class also, ToString method of object class got overridden. Whenever I try to print the reference, we get the content, whatever the content that is stored inside that object. Come to the next program. In case of double equals operator, it is checking whether these two objects are pointing to the same, sorry. In case of double equals operator, it is checking whether these two references. In case of double equals operator, it is checking whether these two references are pointing to the same object or different object. Double equals operator. S1 and S2 are pointing to the same object. S1 and S2 are pointing to the same object. See, we are not using new operator here. We are not using new operator here. See, this is the value, string value. By using this, one object has been created. One object has been created. We have one object. While executing S2 is equal to hello, what happens? In case of line number 6, it is not creating a new object. Why? Because content is same. Content is same. Wherever S1 is pointing, wherever S1 is pointing, for what object the S1 is pointing, for the same object, S2 also will be pointing. For the first case, it is creating a new object. Okay. For the first case, it is creating a new string object. For the second case, while I'm trying to send with the same content, it is not creating a new object. Why? Because content is same. Content is same. Using the existing object, using the existing string object, wherever s1 is pointing, for the same object s2 reference also will be pointing. S1 and S2 are pointing to the same object. Then we get the true, right? True. But come to the A. Whether S1 and S2 are pointing to the same object or not. Here, two objects has been created. First one without using new operator. Second one using new operator. Even the content is same. If I'm using new operator, a new object will be generated. A new object will be created. Now S1 and S2 are pointing to the different objects. That is why we get the false. Observe. One string object has been created with the content as hello. Another string object has been created with the content as hello. Now I'm checking whether these two references are pointing to the same object or not. We are getting false because these two are different objects. S1 and S2 are pointing to the different objects. But in case of class B, I'm not using the new operator. I'm not using the new operator. For the first time, when I'm trying to supply the string value, it is creating a new object with the content hello. For the second time, I'm not using the new operator. Instead, I'm sending the same content. In this case, there won't be new object created. Why? Because content is same. Content is same. And I'm not using the new operator. Now both S1 and S2 are pointing to the same object. S1 and S2 are pointing to the same object. That is why we get the true. Come to the next program. Observe this program. I'm using new operator two times. I'm using new operator two times. See, I got one question. What is the difference between S1 double equals to S2 and S1 is S2? Can I give like is possible or not? See, it is not an operator here. It is not an operator here. Double equals to double equals is the operator. In case of new operator, always it will be creating a new object. Even the content is same. Observe, content is same. Even the content is same, a new object will be created if I use new operator. If I create an object by using new operator, even the content is same, a new string object will be created. Now, what is the usage of double equals operator? Double equals operator is not checking the content of two objects. It is not bothering about the content of two objects. Whatever the content is there in S1, whatever the content is there in S2. Double equals operator not checking the content of the two objects. Instead, it is checking whether both objects are pointing to the same object or different object. Whether these two objects are pointing to the same object, sorry, whether whether these two references are pointing to the same object or different object. Same object or different object. Same object or different object. Why? Because in case of double equals operator, it is not checking the content of the two objects. It is not bothering about the contents, but instead it is checking the memory location, whether these two objects are pointing to the same, whether these two references are pointing to the same object or different object. False. These are two different objects. Come to the next program. Equals method. Equals method. Equals method is the method of object class. Equals method is the method of object class, and it got overridden in the string class. Dot equals method. Equals method is the method of object class, and it got overridden in the string class, like toString. How it is overridden in the string class? How it is overridden? Equals method is overridden in such a manner that it will compare the contents. It will compare the contents of the two objects instead of memory location. It will compare the contents of the objects instead of memory location. Every wrapper classes also, in every wrapper classes also, dot equals method got overridden. Dot equals method evaluates two objects based on the content, not the memory location. Based on the content, not the memory location. To check whether these two objects content are same or not. We should get true and true, true and true. Dot equals method checking the content instead of the memory location. Length method, length method, length method. See, in case of arrays, length is the property. Yesterday we have seen. In case of arrays, length is the property, but in case of string, it is a method. In case of string, it is a method. That is why we are using the parenthesis. In case of arrays, we don't use the length with parenthesis. That is the property. In case of arrays, length is the property, but in case of string, it is a method. In case of arrays, length is used for finding out the size of the array. In case of arrays, length property is used for finding out the for finding out the size of the array. For finding out the size of the array. But in case of strings, length method is used for finding out the number of characters. See, string will be formed by characters. A string value will be formed by group of characters. In case of strings, length is used for finding out the number of characters available inside the string object. In case of arrays, length should not be end with parenthesis, but in case of strings, it should. What is the length now? What is the length of S1? I'm storing the length value to variable I. I'm printing the same. Then inside the system.out.println, I'm using s1.length. It will be returning as the length of this string. We are finding out the number of characters available in this string. We get 5 and 5. 5 and 5. What about space? What about space? What about space? Space is also counting here. Space is also counting. Space is the physical and special character. It is also a physical character and it is one special character. Space is also counting. Space is also one character. It is the special character. Now for the S1, size is 3. For the S2, size is, for the S2, size is 3 spaces and 2 characters. Length is 5, 3 and 5, 3 and 5. Space is also counting. It is a physical and special character. Come to the next. What is happening here? See, I'm trying to include double quotes within the double quotes. Okay. I'm trying to include double quotes within the double quotes. That is not possible. I'm trying to include double quotes within the double quotes. Not possible. But what if I want that double quotes? This double quotes. What is the syntax? What is this character is called? See, it is the escape character. Backslash. Backslash is the escape character. By using backslash, we can able to include double quotes within the double quotes. We can able to include double quotes within the double quote, escaping this character and escaping this character. Usage of backslash or backward slash. Escape character. Escape character. Now, what is the size? What is the length? For the first object, length is 8. For the second object, the length is 10, not 12. 10. Backslash is not counting. We can able to include double quotes within the double quote. If I want this double quote representation, then the length becomes what? In the first case, it is 8. Second case, it is 10, not 12. Escape character, it is not counted. Come to the next. What about this program? Backslash n. Backslash n. In the first case, hello and hello. The second case, backslash n. Hello space backslash space hello. What would be the output? What is the usage of this escape character? By using this escape character, we can able to get the new line. If I want to include a new line, if I want to include a new line, we can able to get it from backslash n, escape character. What would be the output? For the first case, we get hello and hello. For the second case, hello will be printed, one space will be printed, hello and one space. Then a new line will be generated. A new line will be generated. After that, one space is included. One space is included. Then printing hello. Then printing hello. Execute it. After hello, one space is included. Before hello, one space is included. I cannot use backslash, that is the escape character, straight away. Straight away, I cannot able to use this backslash. What is the usage of this backslash? See, backslash, it is mainly used for escaping the main feature of other character. Escaping the main feature of other character. Backslash is used for escaping main feature of other character. Now, we need to use this backslash along with the character. We need to use this backslash along with the character. Mainly backslash is used to escape main feature of other character. What if I want that backslash? Escape it by using another backslash. Escape it by using another backslash. What is the length? What is the length now? What is the length? For the S1, 3 plus 3, 1 space, that is 7 for the S2. 3 plus 3, 6, 2 spaces, that is 8 plus 1, 9. 7 and 9. And we are getting the backslash. Come to the next program. See, I want to represent a folder hierarchy. In that, obviously, in Windows environment, it will be containing backslash. In case of Windows environment, if you find out in the folder, you can see that the hierarchy will be formed by using backslash. But what if I want to represent it in the string form? Not possible, right? Not possible. We have a solution for this. Escape it by using another backslash. Escape this by using the another backslash. Escape this character by using backslash. Escaping the main feature of another character. Escaping the main feature of another character. Escape this backslash by using another backslash. Now we get the path. Come to the next program. Instead of using backward slash, you can go for forward slash. Instead of using backslash, you can go for forward slash. Forward slash is not escaping character. Forward slash is not escaping character. See, but unfortunately, in case of Windows environment, it is only encourages us to use the backslash only. Backslash in case of Windows environment. But if you see the Linux, okay, if you see the Linux environment, it only supports forward slash in case of representing folder hierarchy. In case of Linux, it only supports forward slash for folder hierarchy. Forward slash is not an escaping character. Come to the next program. See, there is a concept called, in case of C and C++, in case of C and C++, there is a concept called operator overloading. Operator overloading is not available in Java. Operator overloading is not available in Java. See, plus operator is already overloaded. Plus operator is already overloaded in case of Java. See, generally, for what purpose we'll be using plus operator? To add two numbers, right? Generally, we use plus operator to add two numbers. Addition to that, addition to that, Java developers, addition to that, Java language developers added one more feature, added one more feature, that is, we can add we can add anything to the string, that is, adding anything to the string by using plus operator, adding anything to the string. We can add anything to the string. Initially, s1 is equal to abc, then s1 is equal to s1 plus xyz, modified content, modified content. abc xyz, we get abc xyz, abc xyz. Come to the next program. Can I able to add null? Can I able to supply null to the string? It is possible because string is the derived data type. Sorry, string is of derived type. string is derived type. For derived type, we can able to supply null. For derived type, we can able to supply null. Now the now the value or this reference contains null. Null is itself a value. Null is itself a value. Now S2 contains null. Can I add null plus string? Can I add null plus string? ABC plus null. S1 contains ABC. ABC plus null. Possible. ABC and null we get. Then S2 plus S1. Null plus ABC. Null and ABC. Null and ABC. We can able to supply null to the string reference. Why? Because string is the derived data type. Sorry. Here the data type is string, right? The data type is string. Reference variable is S2. And the string is also a class. String is also a class. And the type of the content we can able to supply for this string, that is either we can able to supply within the double quotes whatever the characters within the double quotes. Null also is possible. Null also is possible. Come to the next program, you will get the clarity. This one is possible. String S1 is equal to null, but string S1 is equal to null plus null is not possible. Null plus null, not possible. Null plus null is not possible. But if in case any one of the operands, if in case any one of the operands is of type string, then we can able to add anything to that string. Here also, right hand side is the string type S1. Now S1 contains null. that is of type string, that is of type string. Now, string plus null is possible. Null and null we get. Null and null we get. Either one of the operand should be of type string. Null itself is a value. Null itself is a value. Either any one of the operands should be of string type to concatenate. Sir, either one of the operands should be of type string. Can I supply boolean value to string? Cannot convert from boolean to string. Null we can able to supply to the any of the derived type. Null value we can able to supply to the any of the derived type. Come to the next program. What is happening here? What is the value of S1? What is the value of S2? What is the value of S3? If any of the operands are of string type, it will be concatenation. Concatenation operation means simply adding these two operands together, not performing any addition. Simply it is concatenating, simply adding these two operands together. ABC plus 5, then ABC 5 concatenating to 6. Simply it is including 6. ABC 5, 6. Then here 5 plus ABC. Right hand side is the string type. Concatenation is happened. 5 added to ABC. Then 5 ABC is added to 6. 5 ABC 6. But come to S3. Both the operands are of type int. If that is the case, plus operator adding these two numbers, 5 plus 6, 11. 11 is concatenated to ABC. 11 ABC we get. Come to the next program. We know that null plus null cannot be added. Then Int value we cannot able to supply. That means int cannot be converted to string. Then null plus empty string. Null plus empty string. The size of this string is empty. That means zero. Zero length. Zero length. But we are adding these two. Concatenation happens. Concatenation. Null plus this empty string. Then string plus null possible. Then s5 is equal to simply double quote. Now the size of this, now the length actually, length of this string is 0. S5 is 0. What about S3 and S4? What about S3 and S4? S3 and S4 becomes 4. Length is 4. S5 is 0. So we are getting null. Why we are getting null? See, why we are getting null? It is because the content itself becomes null. Content itself becomes null. Content itself becomes null. Anyway, we are not trying to find out the size here, length here. If I try to find out the length, we would have get 4. I just tried to print the reference. So S3 and S4 contains null. S3 and S4 contains just null. Anyway, it is empty string. No characters are available. S3 and S4 contains null. What is the size of S5? Empty string. Size is 0. Size is 0. If you try to print S5 directly, we don't get anything because it is empty. But if you try to find out the length, that is 0. We don't have any characters. It is empty string. Empty string. Come to the next program. try to execute this program. ABC null we are getting, and length is 7. But what happens now? S1 is null. What that means? See here we don't get 4 as the length, right? We don't get 4 as the length. Observe. We don't get 4 as the length. Considering S1 content as null. Okay, considering S1 content as null, it is not itself a content. Null itself is not a content. Considering S1 as the null, null itself is not a content. We are not adding null to the S1. Simply considering S1 content as null. S1 content as null. We are not adding null to the S1. Compilation is very proper. Compiler won't be bothering about how we are using the null. But at the runtime, at the runtime, we get null pointer exception. I'm trying to find out the length of this S1 that contains null. I'm making S1 as a null. So there is no content to find out the length of this S1. Null itself is not a content. Now I'm trying to find out the length. We get null pointer exception. When I'm trying to find out the length, we get null pointer exception. We have just made S1 content as null. We have just made S1 content as null. Null itself is not a content. Come to the next program. Uppercase null. Uppercase null is not a keyword. Uppercase null, it is not a keyword and it is not a literal. What is a literal? A literal is a value that can be assigned to any variable. A literal is a value or constant that can be assigned to any variable. In case of smaller case null, it is a value. Null itself is a value and it is a literal that can be assigned to variable. Null can be assigned to any of the derived type variable, not the primitive type variable. That also you can check. Int I is equal to null. Possible or not? Not possible. Cannot convert from null to int. So in case of string that is derived type, So that is why we can able to supply the null. Int I is not derivative type. Int I is primitive type, primitive data type. And the string, it is a class. It is a class. String is a class. Observe. Integer is a wrapper class. Integer is a wrapper class. I can able to supply the null. Why? Because it is the class. It is not primitive. It is not primitive. But uppercase null is not a keyword and it is not a literal. Very important program. Why do we call string as immutable? We call string as immutable. Why do we call strings are immutable? For the first time with the content XYZ, there will be a string object created by using this constant. By using this constant value, there will be a string object created. The content is XYZ and S1 is pointing to that object and S1 is pointing to that object. And I'm printing the reference. We get the XYZ. Now S1 dot concat, S1 dot concat, hello I'm supplying. S1 dot concat, hello I'm supplying. What happens in this case? I'm trying to modify the already created string object. I'm trying to modify the string object. If I try to do that, there will be a new object created with the modification. Strings are immutable. We cannot change the object once we created. We cannot change the contents of the string object that is already created. If I try to do that, there will be a new object created with the modifications. While executing s1.concat, a new object is created with xyz and hello. That is the new content. That is the modification. That is the modification I'm trying to do for the existing string object. If that is the case, a new object will be created. Original will be not changing. Please keep that in mind. Original string object content won't be changed. If I try to change the content of the original object, original string object, there will be a new object created with the modification. See, once we create a string object, we cannot modify that object further. If you try to modify, a new string will be created. What is the output of this program? XYZ and XYZ. Why we are getting XYZ and XYZ? Why? Because S1 is pointing to the same object. S1 reference is pointing to the same object, that is XYZ. Whatever the modifications that has done, with that modification, a new string object has been created, but there is no reference here. I'm not storing it to any reference. S1 is still pointing to XYZ. S1 is still pointing to XYZ object, but there are two objects are created here. Two objects. Come to the next program. Here, S1 dot concat hello. I'm trying to make the changes for the already created object S1. If I try to do that, there will be new object created with the modifications. What is the modifications I have done? XYZ adding to hello. XYZ and hello. Content is changed. There will be a new object created. That object is supplied to the S2 reference. Now S2 will be pointing to the new object created. S2 will be pointing to the new object that has been created. Now S1 and S2 are pointing to the different objects. S1 and S2 are pointing to the different objects. Both are different objects. S1 is pointing to the same object after modification also. After modification, there will be a new object created. That object I'm assigning it to S2. S2 content, S2 object content, that is XYZ hello. Whether S1 and S2 are pointing to the same object or different object. These are different objects. That is why I'm getting the false. Comparing the memory locations. Comparing the memory locations. S1 and S2 are different memory locations. S1 and S2 are different objects references. Both are pointing to the different objects. Now, what happens in this case? Any guess here? Please replay. Initially, one string object is created with the content xyz that is referred by s1. S1 is a reference variable that is pointing to the xyz object. Same I'm printing. XYZ will get printed. Now, I'm trying to execute this statement. I'm trying to modify the existing string object s1 dot concat hello. Now, with that changes, a new object will be created. With that changes, a new object will be created. A new string object will be created with that modifications. Now, that object is supplied to the s1 reference. That object is supplied to the s1 reference. Now s1 is pointing to that object modified newly created object, that is xyz hello. Now s1 is already pointing to the xyz object. S1 is already pointing to the xyz object, but I'm reassigning s1 to the newly created object, that is xyz hello. What happens? XYZ object becomes abandoned. XYZ object becomes abandoned. Without a reference variable, it becomes abandoned. An object without reference becomes abandoned. An object without reference becomes abandoned. Now S1 is pointing to the newly created object, that is XYZ hello. What about this object? An object without a reference becomes abandoned and it is eligible for garbage collection. It is eligible for garbage collection. It will be cleaned up by the garbage collector. An object without reference. Now, if I try to print the S1, we get XYZ hello. First we get XYZ, then we are reassigning S1. Then we will get XYZ hello. Come to the next program. What happens in this case? Trim method. Trim method. What is the length? What is the length of this string? What is the size? How many characters are available? What is the length of this string? 3 plus 3 plus 3 white spaces. 9. 9 is the length. Now what is the trim method? In case of trim method, it will be removing the forward and trailing spaces. Forward means leading. Trim method removes the leading and trailing white spaces, but not the in between white space. But not the in between white space. Please observe. Leading and trailing white space, but not the in between white space. So I try to modify the content of the string. I try to modify the content of the string object. There will be a new object created with those changes. There will be a new object created with those changes. S1 will be pointed to the same object. What is the length? What is the length? 9 we get, right? So what is the length in this case after modification? After modification, we get 9 or 7. We get 9 or 7. We get 9 only. Observe. Why? Because S1 is still pointing to the old object only. S1 is still pointing to the old object only. After this S1 dot trim, modification is happening to the original string object. By using those modifications, a new object will be created, but I'm not assigning any references to the newly created object. S1 is still pointing to the original object, old object. Come to the next program. Whatever the object that has been created with the modifications, that object I'm assigning to S2 reference. Now what is the length of S1 and what is the length of S2? Length of S1 it is 9 and length of S2 is 7. Before modification S1, after modification S1. Then whatever the reference that is referred to the newly object created, the content is content length, string length is 7. S1 is pointing to the old object only. That is why we are getting the 99. For S2, it is pointing to the new object, modified object. The length of that modified, the length of that modified object content, that is 7. What happens in this case? A new object will be created, but that object is referred by S1 itself. That object is referred by S1 itself. Then the old object becomes abandoned. Then the old object becomes abandoned. An object without a reference variable pointing to an object without any reference is pointing to it. An object without reference. Abandoned object. Now that becomes eligible for garbage collection. S1 will be pointing to the newly created modified object with the length is, what is the length of newly created object with the length 7. Here length we get 9. Then see here, I'm just finding out after trimming. I'm just finding out after trimming what is the length. What is the length? After trimming it becomes 7. Then again I'm trying to find out the length. What is the output? What is the value? Anybody can guess? What is the value in case of line number 8? How do we get 10? How do we get 10? We don't get 10. See here, we are just checking out after trimming. Okay, after trimming, what is the length? So S1 is still pointing to the old object only. S1 is still pointing to the old object only. If S1 is still pointing to the old object, what is the length? 9 only. 9 only. So we get 9, 7, 9. Come to the next program. To uppercase, we are trying to make every character in a string to the uppercase. Whatever the modification it can be, there will be a new object created. There will be a new object. Now we get S1 in the uppercase or lowercase. In the uppercase or lowercase. In the lowercase only. Why? Because S1 is still pointing to this object. Whatever the object that has been created using uppercase method, I'm trying to supply it to the new reference S2. Now S1 and S2 are pointing to the different objects. S1 to the old object, S2 to the newly created object. Now XYZ becomes XYZ modified to the uppercase, that is pointed by S2. S1 is still pointing to the old object only. Modified object we have supplied to the S2 reference. So here an object is becoming abandoned, that is eligible for garbage collection. Why? Because S1 is reassigned to point to the new object and the old object becoming abandoned. It is available for garbage collection. Whatever the modification, whatever the modification, two uppercase or two lowercase, these are all the methods available in the string class to perform some operations. S1 is pointing to the same object only, even though we modified the content of the S1. S1 is not changing. A new object is created with that change. Whatever the object that has been created, I'm assigning it to new variable. S2 is the variable for the new object that has been created. Now S2 contains the character in the uppercase, sorry, in the lowercase, all the characters in the lowercase. X, Y, Z. Lowercase. S1 is pointing to the uppercase, that is the original object. After modification, S2 is pointing to the modified object. Now, we have seen this object is becoming abandoned. Object is becoming abandoned. Why? Because S1 is pointing to the new object. To char array, it is the built-in method. Built-in method. Char type array. This is the reference. S1 dot to char array. Chars dot length. Till the length it will be iterating. Till the length. Here, anywhere I'm not trying to modify anything. I'm just trying to iterate through character array by supplying S1. To char is the built-in method that is available in the string class. That is available in the string class. So we get characters like this. Every time one character is returned. Till the length. So char at, it is the method. It is the method that is accepting one int index. Int index. I'm trying to find out what is the character that is available in the S1. What is the index number that is 0? What is the character that is available at the index number 0? Likewise, index number 3, 4. That is stored inside the C1, C2 and C3. That is only I'm printing. At the 0th index H, at the 3rd index it is L, at the 4th index that is O. Now it cannot be negative index and it cannot be out of bounds. String out of bounds exception we get. First we get negative exception. What is that? Yeah. It is not the size, right? It is not the size, right? It is the index. So that is why we get string index out of bounds exception. If it is the size, we would have get negative size exception. And here also. We get string index out of bounds exception. I'm trying to access the index that is not available. I'm trying to access the index that is not available. To find out the characters that are available in the string, to find out the places, to find out the indexes of the characters that are available inside the string object. What is the output of this program? Length minus 1. What is the index? See, why do we get this? Oh, why do we get O. What happens if I try to supply just length? So what is the length here? Please carefully observe. Length is 5. Length is 5. That means 5 characters. If I want to refer this character, length minus 1, 5 minus 1, that comes to this. 5 minus 1, 5 minus 1, that comes to fourth index. Fourth index, we have O. That is why we are keeping the minus 1. I simply like this, we get, see, not here actually, here. Here if I try to find out the character that is available in the fifth, there is no index called fifth. Till 4 we have, so we get array index out of, sorry, string index, right? String index out of bounds exception. String index out of bounds exception. That is why I'm giving minus 1. At the fourth index, length minus 1, 5 minus 1, 4, fourth index. O is available. What is the index of the particular character? Simple. To find out the index of the particular character in the string. Observe. First occurrence of A index is what? 1. Now, two arguments. Two arguments. Index of two arguments. So we are finding out the character A after, means from this index, 8th index. I'm finding out the character available from the 8th index. So the index is 11. J is 11 now. J is 11. Come to the next program. Finding out the string at what index it is available. Zeroth index, then from 11 index onwards. In what index this string is available? In the 24th index we have this string Java. Index of space. Space is also a physical and special character. What is the index of this space in the given string? 4. At the fourth index we have the space. Fourth index. Come to the next program. What is happening here? See, returning a string that is a substring of this string from 5. Okay, from 5 we have technologies. It is the substring. It is considering it as the substring. A new object that has been generated that is assigning to S2. Substring returns a string that is substring of this string. Returns a string that is substring of this string. Substrings, new objects will be generated from 5th index to 17th index, from 0 to 4 index. Okay. Beginning index is inclusive, ending index is exclusive. Beginning index is inclusive, ending index is exclusive. Observe carefully. Beginning is inclusive, ending is exclusive. So all these are different objects. These are pointing to the different objects. Okay, guys. So I think this is enough for string. So from the next session, we'll continue. We'll we'll discuss another topic. Okay. Thank you, everyone. We will meet in the next session. Yeah. What is that doubt, Yuvraj? Yuvraj, sorry, I just kept my mic mute actually. Are you here? Yuvraj, I just kept my mic mute. Yuvraj, can you able to hear me? Okay, guys, we will wind up the session for today. See you on next session. Thank you.